Hey, what's going on, friends? This is MC Till with Everybody's Hip-Hop Label. You're tuned into the Boom Bap Chat number 50. We have an incredible guest tonight. We are going to introduce our guest in just a moment. But if you're in Cincinnati, make sure you get on over to Pleasant Ridge and check out Everybody's Records. And if you can't get here, you're out of town, that's cool. Just go to everybody'srecords.com and check out some good, dope hip-hop. They got vinyl. They got all kinds of stuff, CDs, tape. They still have tapes. They got books. They got everything. And if you want to know all the things that we're up to, we're writing books. We got this podcast. We have music. We've got the blog going on. You can check out all of that stuff at everybody'shiphop.com. So check that out, please. Tonight, very, very excited, humbled, and honored to have this guest with us tonight. This is an MC that is one of the illest MCs around. And just so excited and thankful to have him in the house. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, the group he's in, his new album, the teaching he does a lot. We want to give some praise and some props and a big boom bap welcome to Breeze Brewin. Breeze, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Peace, y'all. How's everybody doing out there?
Doing good, man. Doing good with the delayed claps.
Hey, they on time.
It's all good, man. Thanks for being here, man. How's your day going?
It's going all right. You know, it's gonna be a long one, but I'm glad to talk with y'all and break the education monotony for the day.
Yeah,
it's a weird time. It's the end of the market period, so it's a lot of work. There's a flood of work coming in right now.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about that. But for our viewers, also in the room, as always, we have IOMOS MARAD, man, Profound, and
what's good, brother?
Neville lurking in the background. So you're saying you're upgrading papers. What are you grading tonight?
A lot of responses that I've been asking for a couple of weeks, and there's really a push in I'm gonna say New York, but I'm guessing it's everywhere. Like, it's a delicate balance of being empathetic to what's going on with students in regards to the the COVID, but at the end of the day, it's like I can't, you know what I mean? I tell them, I'm like, yo, anything times zero is zero. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't get, if you don't give me nothing to work with, I can't see where you are. I can't see what you understand or don't understand. I can't see how you're progressing. So it's tough to get kids engaged. It's tough to keep them engaged. It's tough to get work from them. And, you're just trying to teach.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
How long have you been teaching?
18 years.
18 years. What got you into teaching?
I feel like teaching has always been, we're all teachers in different ways. I learn from the students. I guess if we talk about what got me involved, I come from a teaching family. Even before my family were teachers. My mom, she came to this country from Jamaica, and just hardworking, figuring out ways. So initially, she had like a daycare in our neighborhood in the Bronx, in Wakefield. So, she ain't want just to be like, all right, y'all gonna come here and play. Playing is dope. No knock on playing.
Right.
But she was always on like, all right, cool. We're gonna get y'all from school. Everybody gonna sit down. Y'all gonna do y'all homework together. And at one point, there was like maybe like 20 of us, different ages.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was one of the older kids, and obviously, it's my mom. She ain't, you know what I mean. So it's like, I'm going to do what she asked so that everybody else does what she's asking. And in that process, I would go and help other kids with their work. My brother, my sister, all of us. We had a big old school blackboard. And we would just get down there and we'd be working. She would then come after and, double check and say, oh, how are you doing with this and with that? But she depended on us to help each other to get it done. And in that process, it got, I would find myself understanding things better just by going over it with, like my friends.
Yeah.
So from then, I always had a knack with it. I was always pretty good writing. Um, I remember, my older cousins and even sometimes my aunts and uncles, if they had like a letter that they wanted to hand out, they would give it to me to proofread. So I always, was pretty comfortable. I read a lot.
Yeah.
So it made sense, So it was like I saw other people who were teachers, like really kind of doing their thing. For a long time, I was doing all kind of jobs. I worked at the group home. I was a janitor overnight at a college. I actually almost got free tuition by working overnight a janitor at a college. That's like how real it got. I was like, I got to figure out a way to get back. My man Carter P, big cousin, aka from Adigio, he was a teacher before me. Shout out to my dude Dana Dog. Like a lot of my dudes were teaching, and they summers look nice. You know what I mean? Like when I was there, like basically carrying 50-pound bags of college kid trash. I would see them the next day, and I'm like, "Yo, man, you look refreshed." You know what I mean? And they're like, "Yeah, I'm chilling. It's the summer." You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going here, I'm going there, and I was like, "Damn, that sounds good." And then when I started thinking, like, "Yo, even in regards to the music, that would be a good look."
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is after things didn't work out initially with the music.
Right.
But it just seemed like a logical progression, and I'm not gonna say it's been that smooth.
Yeah.
There's been times where I can't think about music because I'm so into the teaching.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But I feel like it was a good look for me. If there's anything to do, and I've always taught where I live. So, when I first started, where I grew up, Wakefield, Edenwald area in the Bronx, I taught where I grew up. So I would, I taught my dudes kids, So it was like, look, I know your pops. I know he ain't no joke. So let's get this work done. And that happened a couple of times. So it was just an extension of the community. It was an extension of a love for writing, for literature. And even at this point, it's been an extension of a love of production for a number of years. I've been teaching production for like 4 or 5 years. But the whole time, obviously, English.
Yeah.
18 years straight.
That's really cool, man. And I want to use, this teaching as a segue into the music. But before that, one of the things we like to do here is to show props, give flowers, show appreciation. And, you are responsible for some incredible music over the years, with the Juggaknots, with A Prince Among Thieves, one of my favorites, phenomenal album. The new album, Hindsight, incredible. I mean, these albums are just phenomenal albums, incredible lyricism like no other. And even more impressive, I think, to me, is hearing the story of teaching. And just want to show you appreciation for, giving your time and your service, not just to teaching, but teaching in the way that you do. Just hearing how you talk about like the community aspect, knowing the parents, like that's really important to us here on the Boom Bap Chat, that we cultivate community, cultivate, mentoring relationships. IOMOS is really into teaching, and I've been working with kids for a long time. So we appreciate that here, and just want to show you love and gratitude and say thank you for that.
Oh, man, thank y'all, man, just for considering that.
No doubt. Before we segue into the music, IOMOS, man, any of that hit you hard or hit you, near to your heart?
Definitely, like a lot of my favorite MCs are educators. You know what I'm saying? From J Live to Grap Lover. I know Pete Rock, little brother, is a teacher.
My dude.
Yeah, Asheru. I mean, it's the list is kind of long.
Wordsworth, John Robinson.
Yeah, Wordsworth, John Robinson, you know what I'm saying? Like educators. So I always gravitated toward those type of artists, you know what I mean? Like
That's what's
I always
up.
looked up to them, and I think me like meeting J Live in person and having a conversation with him, that's what started me on the path that I'm on now. And that's why I went
Dope,
and
man.
got my master's of education, and I'm in a PhD program right now.
That's
and I
what's
told
up.
J Live that recently. I was able to tell him that in Clubhouse, like just like appreciating him, mentoring me from a distance. Like I don't have like a relationship with him, but just the fact that I was at that one moment we had that conversation about how important it is for Black men to be in education. That's what sparked me. You know what I mean? So
that conversation is real and important. I've had that conversation. I've had others like kind of bestow that conversation onto me, and that's the way you phrased it. I think it's very purposeful. Like as you say, as Black men, like I've honestly, I've felt my presence in the classroom have a different kind of meaning.
Absolutely.
And you know, there's a lot of females too. Shout out to Queen Heroine, my sister. She's an educator. My brother, Fever the Kid, B Slim. So it's been a family thing, and just to hear y'all talk about it like that, it definitely, you know, it's something that we, you know, I mean, any teacher will tell you, like, we don't want, you know, like we do it because we feel it's important. We love it, but it's like to definitely focus on that. This maybe we could do more with that. You know what I mean? And just.
Do you ever chat with like J Live or Grap Lover, Wordsworth, and like trade stories around?
I kind of had to talk with Words. Words hit me up. Yeah, he hit me up and was like, "Yo, I got an opportunity," and we started chopping it up. And we talked for like I want to say maybe a couple hours. And you know, I was, and especially in this day and age, it's like, look, I got curriculum, I got lessons. Like a lot of brothers, like, hey, that's something we could talk about, like hip hop teacher exchange, because we have a different perspective.
Right.
John Robinson, man, him and Jay Rawls, you know, their book, they have mind-blowing stuff.
Phenomenal.
That honestly, as producers, as MCs, as the hip hop brain frame it's different.
Yeah.
Like how we incorporate things, and how like in our mind how we think this could work with that. Like that's almost intrinsic to the hip hop mind.
Yeah.
So when we're like thinking about like, all right, cool, I want them to get this idea. I'll take a little piece of that. I'll take a little piece of that. I'll take this picture. I'll take this meme. I'll take this commercial. And before you know it, you give kids multiple access points. But I feel like that's inherent to the minds that hip hop has shaped, because we're natural curators.
Yeah.
Whether it's like looking for samples and like looking for, you know, oh, this bass line or this snare. And we were talking about, you know, your drumming prowess. Like we know how to amalgamate things for a particular purpose. Yeah. So I do think that the hip hop mind it's ideal for like more progressive education.
Yes, I agree.
Do you also feel like the presentation in a way also lends itself well to teaching? I remember being in the educational field. I was an assistant teacher for a while. And a teacher came out to a show I did and saw me perform. And I was really struggling as an assistant teacher. I wasn't that good at it. And she was like, yo, you need to bring that energy that you have on stage, that master of ceremony, into the classroom to captivate the kids. I was like, oh, okay. And so that, you know, do you feel like not just the mind, but also the way in which you present also is?
I feel like it's actually worked backwards and forwards in regards to even performing. I mean, I think, you know, when we had first started out, I was like, yo, get up there. We're going to get the mic. We're going to get them. You know what I mean? You have a couple of drinks and you do whatever before you get up on stage. And that's all well and good. That has its charm. But then it got to the point where you start to look at like, all right, this is my playlist. I'm going to set it up like this. It's almost like a lesson plan.
Lesson plan,
With a lesson plan, it's like, yo, this is my goal. I want to make sure these points hit.
Yeah.
And it's the same way when you up there, you know, setting up a good show. All right, here's my call and response. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have this segue into that. Same way with a good lesson plan. You want it to have a flow to it.
Yeah.
You know, like the whole experience. And I feel like there was almost like a symbiotic relationship. Like as I became a better teacher, like it became easier to like set up, all right, this is how we should set up our playlist for you know, our show list for this particular event. And it just, I feel like at the end of the day, it's always presentation. Like as a teacher, like you are on. Like that's the one thing with the Zoom. Like I used to, you know, I used to walk around the class in a way that I could make sure the kids are engaged.
Right.
You ain't got that with the Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's tough. I remember I've worked with co-teachers. You know what I mean? And it's like when you would sync with your co-teacher, the kids don't even know who's the lead teacher. And it's like, yo, I'm here. You start on this idea. The co-teacher finishes it. The co-teacher will start this idea. And it's like, boom. And then you start getting this ridiculous type of rhythm. And that's the same way you would be doing if you're performing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's you and your DJ, you and your other MCs. For me, it's, you know, I'm up there with my family, me and my sister, me and my brother. So it's like you understand it, you know, like how you can enhance a performance and you know, by handing off and all right, let me fall back, let me let you rock. And it's a lot of it is insane.
Yeah. I look at it like I've been trying to perfect the art of reciprocal teaching. You know what I'm saying? Like like that's a part of hip hop, the call and response.
Yeah.
And so I've done some presentations out here in the schools. And on the Zoom call, and the teacher was like, it was her class, and I was just coming in as a guest speaker. She said, "How did you do that? Like 30 minutes in, when I'm teaching a lesson, they asking for a break. You had them for like 2 hours and 30 minutes in the palm of your hand." I was like, "Yeah, because I gave them space to talk. I'm not just talking at them. Like I want to hear what they thinking." I think a lot of teachers go in the classroom and they ignore the social capital that students come into the classroom with. So I leave space to, you know, create that conversation. I have in mind where I want to go, but having that call and response, that reciprocal teaching, giving them an opportunity to process what I'm giving them. Like, do you agree with that? How do you feel about what I just said? You know what I mean? So coming at it like that, that's all hip hop to me. And like you said, the hip hop mind, I love that phrase, like the hip hop mind. I love that.
Yeah, it's we've been trained different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How do your kids, your students, and like other teachers respond to your music, or do they? It's fascinating.
I've kept it quiet for a long time, but it's gotten harder and harder. I know when I go back, right now I'm teaching remote in New York.
Right. So
I haven't, you know, like, but I get some texts and some emails like, yo, I heard that. Now I'm not gonna front. My present students, I try not to bring it up, but at this point, I'm not gonna hide it. My old students, like my students who I taught 2-3 years ago, it's actually a nice way to keep in contact with them. You know what I mean? Because I'll be chilling, checking, you know, Instagram. I'm like, oh snap, Augustine. Oh snap, you know, and it's like, well, I'll see in the comments. I'm like, all right, I know who that is. That's Kayla. That's one of my students. So it'll be it's actually a cool way to keep in contact. I don't think I've embarrassed any of them yet. Some of them have come outright and said, yo, this is my teacher right here.
Yeah.
And I'm actually working on a video soon, and a couple of them they said they're gonna act in it for me.
Oh, is it a song off the album?
It is.
Is it taking notes?
No.
Okay.
It's a bit more it's a little bit more racy than that. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, all right.
But you know, they grown now. They, you know, these kids, they ain't kids no more. They're like 20, 21, and you know, they have their own Instagram presence. So it's like they just want to help, and I'm open to it. And I think they're dope. I think, you know, a lot of these kids. One of them, I remember in the class we were writing plays, And then at the end, I was like, all right, now y'all gonna act the play. So, you know, it was the student, and he was talking about, the play was about a relationship, and it was him and his young lady, and they were like arguing, and they were going back and forth. And then in the middle of the play, you know, it built up to this, and she just hooks off and smacks him. And everybody's watching it. And then they're like, oh, and all the students were so into it. And then at the end, you know, they finished, they bowed, and just the clapping was just like raucous. And I don't think it just because it was like, oh wow, you know, whatever. Like the fact that she smacked him and everybody got it, like it was part of the play.
Yeah.
Nobody went crazy. Nobody was, oh, this and that. No, it was like, it was orchestrated.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, they really went into this playwright. And I just felt wow, good. And, you know, like that was something we always, like right after, like they finished it, they got up, they hugged, they laughing and smiling. He's feeling his face a little bit. But it was so dope. So he's one of them that's gonna be in there. I gotta give Jonathan a call later.
Dope. Well, I can't wait to see that video.
Yeah, it's gonna be
dope.
something.
The new album is Hindsight. And if you're tuning in to the podcast or watching the video, make sure you listen. It's by Breeze Brewin, our guest tonight. Album's called Hindsight. It's a really, really good album. Definitely want to jump into that album, but I want to rewind first and go back a little bit. Before that though, Profound, anything hit you so far that you want to comment on?
Man, I actually wanted to know, brother, how is the support of you being an MC from your colleagues and other teachers?
A lot of them, it's like just like genuine, I guess general, like, hey, you know, that's cool. You're doing what you're doing. And then others are heads. You know what I mean? It's like if they're like, you know, around my age, a little younger, a little older, they're like, yo, keep doing your thing. I've met some really talented other MCs. I've had MCs who I used to teach with, and then they like really committed to the craft, and they decided to take a break and pursue it. And then I've had others who are like producers or MCs, and they just like, yo, I remember when you put out this or that. One of the producers on Hindsight is you know, he is shout out to my dude Megalo. I met him. He was the guidance counselor at a school I used to teach at in Red Hook, Brooklyn.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you know, we just talk about the craft like the same way we talking, like I'm just so grateful for this music.
Yeah.
Because y'all know if it's like that good stuff and you having a conversation with somebody about it, it's like, it's almost like book club, man. You know what I mean? Like you sitting there and you there chilling, and it's like, yo, so let's go to the second verse. And you know, like cats will throw a line out. It's like book club, man. And it's needed, man, because good hip hop, it pushes the thought. It brings up topics. So when you're sitting there and you chilling, talking to, you know, a colleague, and y'all just going back and forth on, you know, the favorite song from the Purple Tape. You know what I mean? That's such a good escape from, you know, what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, with a tough day. So I'm just so grateful for this music, to be a part of it. And most people, like, if they're not into hip hop, they're like, hey, do your thing, you know? And I appreciate that. But if you're into hip hop, like we have great talks, man. You know, we have great talks. And as more people are into education and different parts of it, shout out to Big Zoo, actually, too. I want to shout him out. He's actually like, I mean, a brilliant education mind from End of the Week. He came in one day and I was teaching, and it didn't click at first. And then after, you know, the kids left, he was like, yo, that was really great. I knew who he was immediately because, you know, he's Big Zoo. You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, you Big Zoo. And he was like, oh, you Breeze, you know. But we were both there, and I'm there in my khakis, he there in the tie, and we both got our folders and our clipboards, and we were like waiting for everybody to leave. I was like, oh shit, my man's in there. But it's cool too. It's almost like, it's got the Fight Club element to it too. You ain't just walking around Joe Hip Hop, you just whoever you are.
Yeah.
But then when y'all, you close the door, like, Fight Club, here we are.
Yeah, that's fresh.
That's dope.
So taking it back before the teaching, before Juggaknots, someone on Instagram, we asked, we got Breeze on tonight. What should we ask him? And Kadeen was asking about how you developed your writing style, which I think is an interesting question because you have a very unique style. So how did that come about? How did you develop your own style?
I'll probably have to say it's still a work in progress. At first, I just really wanted to pack a lot into the time allotted. I wanted to I wanted to say a lot. I wanted to make sure I didn't waste none of it. And as time has gone on, I can appreciate the pauses. It's not a waste at all. It's, it's part of the setup. So I'm really into the mechanical aspects of it. I'm really into trying to utilize, every quarter note, every 16th note, down beats, off beats, right before, ghost notes lyrically. You know what I mean? Like there's so much you could do, and when you really listen, again, the hip hop mind, you start to see just like little slick things. Cause everybody's like, hey, it's rap. Everybody can rap. Everybody can talk. And I'm like, that's the challenge. Cause you're right. Everybody can talk. But to make that shit sound ill, you really doing something. Yeah. There's so much subtlety. So, I guess the best part when we're talking about the writing process, I have a lot of processes. I try to employ as many of them as possible. I try to just have a toolkit of different things I could do. But at the end of the day, it's just like trying to keep all of that fresh. Just seeing that grid in your mind a little bit, and trying to just be inside and out of it at the same time, Yeah. That's probably the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, you mentioned packing a lot in early on, and then learning, that the pause is, can be actual, a good thing. It made me think of LP from Company Flow, and now with the stuff he does with Killer Mike, Run the Jewels. And it made me think of LP, and that's kind of I feel like that was his style early on too. Just like pack as many words as possible in there, just like in your face. And then I feel like he's kind of, evolved a little bit as well. But talking about LP, I've been listening to this, the podcast with podcast with Open Mike Eagle.
Mike Eagle, yeah.
Yep. Mike. Yeah, so he's interviewing LP and Company Flow. It made me start thinking about that whole era of movement, like towards the late 90s, where, the commercial hip hop was really taking off, getting a lot of shine. And then there was this underground scene that was really, coming to form. Where do you position yourself in the Juggaknots, kind of in that movement in the mid to late 90s?
We were definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
I think we became a part of it rather organically. I've heard the interviews, both of the podcasts to date with Mike and L, and I mean we wanted to be, I guess we wanted to be native tongues. You know what I mean? Like we wanted to be who we looked up to. Yeah. So with that, we wanted a deal, right? there was no, the idea about being independent, it really wasn't, you know. I mean, I've been robbing long enough. I wanted to get signed to prison. You know what I mean? And then, you know, everybody was like Def Jam, Def Jam. And it was like, I was into Def Jam, but I was more into like, you know, honestly, we got signed to who we wanted to get signed to. Like when we want East West Electra, that was exactly where we wanted to go. If anybody said, hey, you know, and it was all roster. It was all roster. It was KMD, PCL, Brand Nubian. I mean, those dudes are special because they were neighbors for us. Like we were from the Bronx. We moved to New Rochelle. I remember seeing Pooh-Bah. I remember seeing like all of them just like going about their business, being as dope as hell.
Yeah.
Who else was on Electra at that time? Leaders of the New School. I mean, there's so many cats that it's actually, I'm forgetting now. But and then on the East West side, there was Das Effects, who we were huge fans of. So Buster, you know, obviously leaders.
Yeah.
But when we got there, like the industry changed in so many different ways. You know what I mean? Like when we ended up getting dropped right after they dropped KMD. Right after they dropped, I mean, technically they dropped Brand Nubian. So pretty much right before we got dropped. And I could tell, I remember going to meetings and it was like, just hearing what they were trying to do. They had just signed Missy and Timberland. And even for other cats, you know, we had Adolph the Assassin at the time. Now he's Aguilar, you know, but at the time he was Adolph and he had a dope album. He was my label mate. And I think even the Boogie Monsters, they were on one of the subsidiaries underneath Electra.
Yeah,
dope.
Was dope.
Very
dope as hell.
Yeah, for real.
But I remember that meeting. We were in a meeting and like, you know, Adolph played Ghetto Girl and everybody was like, yo, and we were so happy. And then we played one of our joints and they were like, it was crickets. So I knew we was gonna get dropped. And when we did, it was tough, but it was like, this is a change in the industry.
Yeah.
But there were other cats who were already ahead of the game. Like they saw the change. Like Bobito was like, all right, well, you know, don't worry about it. Like we were very close to signing with Hoppo. I was almost, you know, like a label mate with George, Curious George, H2O, Hard to Obtain.
Yep.
And we just didn't pull the trigger. Like we were cool with Bob. I knew Bob through Pete Nice. I knew Pete Nice through basketball. He was, I went to his father's basketball camp. New York is a small place sometimes. And that's how I met Pete. So it just got to the point where it was like, all right, well, what are we gonna do? And Bob was like, I know what you're gonna do. You should have signed with us before. Let's put some of them joints out now. And that's how we ended up running with Fondulum. And I felt Fondulum was definitely, I mean, you know, L was pretty close to putting out stuff with Bob. You know, he put out the stuff with those official singles. If memory serves correct, I'm pretty sure Bob was like, yo, if you want to throw it out with me, you could throw it out with me.
Right.
But L was already in the process of having stuff pressed up independently, completely independently. So I wasn't really hip to the idea about being independent, but I definitely wanted to have my music out. I was already listening to Stretch and Bob. I was already going to the Nuyorican. I'd been to Fat Beats, you know, and it was like it was there, and it just felt like a path. It didn't feel like the path that I wanted to be on initially, but it damn sure didn't feel like no consolation prize either. It was dope. Yeah. Like the feeling was like, oh shit, you know, look at all these cats. Like these cats are all dope. I'm cool with that. And then there were other cats who were on majors that was like kind of come like slumming with us, for lack of a better term, because you would still see your Marches, you would see your OCs. Like these cats would come and they you know, they come to some of these functions. They would be at the Nuyorican. And you know, very soon it was Doom as well. Doom, you know, I mean, Doom was my label mate. You know, he was there. I got signed thinking I was gonna be KMD was gonna be my label mate, the God Squad. You know what I mean? So it was a bugged out time. I don't know how many people thought like, we doing this underground shit. Like it wasn't. It just happened.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, we gonna have, because I had been performing and rhyming it. I remember birthday parties. I remember joints at a couple performances and you know, different in the projects, and this one's community center, whatever. I'd been rhyming. I was rhyming since I was 12. You know, so that wasn't new to me. It was just like most of it was in my vicinity. It was in like Mount Vernon, or it was in Yonkers, or it was in the Bronx, or it was in the Rochelle. It was, once like we went downtown, it felt different. And then that was dope, because then it was like, all right, cool. This is my man. He's from Brooklyn. All right, cool. That sounds far. You know what I mean? This is my man. He's from Philly. Like everybody was coming to, you know, downtown New York, you know, the Village. And it was dope. It was definitely like a mini Mecca, you know, that whole scene.
Yeah.
What was the name of that park that a lot of the MCs like used to congregate at?
Washington
Square. Yeah, that's what it was.
It was right around the corner from Fat Beat. So I would go like hear Cypher, like, I'm gonna go back to work. I wish I was on some of them tapes, you know.
And how long did you work at Fat Beats?
I worked there from, I want to say 98 to like 2004. So about 6 years.
Okay. Right on. Dope.
And for you know, and it varies. Sometimes I was working like 1 day a week, 2 days a week. Sometimes I was working 7 days a week. You know what I mean? It was like, I remember when I became an assistant manager, it was like the manager just kind of quit. And the Clips was like, hey, here's the keys. And that felt dumb good. The keys to Fat Beats.
Yeah.
But I ain't abuse it. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, trying to make this, I was trying to do right. And
yeah.
You know, I respected Fat Beats, but I could have done such debauchery in that.
So one of the albums that I think is a cult classic, a standout. Whenever I ask people, what's your favorite concept album of all time? This album always is in the discussion. Prince Among Thieves, that Prince Paul orchestrated. Did you know Prince Paul before that album? Okay. I'm curious to know from your perspective, why do you think Prince Paul reached out to you? Did he ever tell you like how he reached out to you?
When he did reach out, we reached out to him initially. We had reached out to several producers when we had a deal. We figured like, we got a deal, we're on a major label, you know, we seeing like certain dudes ending up with beats from certain, you know, our heroes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, damn man, they let it all hang out a door joint. Like, you gotta, you know, what's up, Pete? You got any of those laying around? So we had our A&R, Kim Spikes. Shout out to Kim Spikes. We were like, she said, who y'all want to work with? So we said, Pete, Large, Diamond D Primo, and Prince Paul. So I guess she had like different demos that we were, you know, cause we would do like, have a lot of mixes. Like, I went to the studio, check this out. So she ended up making a dub of certain joints and I guess hitting them dudes. I don't know, you gotta ask them. I know for a fact Paul got a copy of that. So Paul got a copy of that. And then right before he started the psychoanalysis tour. So then he goes out on the psychoanalysis tour and he's rocking this joint. And you know, him and his team is like, yo, this shit's pretty dope. And he told me, he's like, yo, some of them joints for like 9 minutes. He's like, was really good with that. I was like, yo, he was young, he was high. I don't know what to tell you. So then he ends up coming back to Elektra and saying, what's good? I want to work with this dude. And they're like, yo, they ain't here no more. They got dropped. It's like, all right. So Paul went, and I guess he just said, let me just check out Fat Beats, because it was the hub. You know, that's where, you know, it was a shot in the dark, but I'm from New York. And he was like, hell, he's from New York. He probably knows somebody in Fat Beats. He goes to Fat Beats. He sees the clips. And he's like, yo, what's good? You know Breeze. Eclipse knows everybody. He got my number. At the time, I was working at the group home. Same group home that X used to be at. Shout out to DMX, man. Let's hopefully the brother. We'll see what happens. And regardless, you know, praise to the king in that regard. So he used to live at in Dobbs Ferry Children's Village. That's where I was working. I'm doing the night shift. So it was 10:30 to 6. So I get home, it's like 7 o'clock. You know, I'm dumb tired, just ready to crash. My first kid's mom was like, yo, I got a message for you. She's like, it's Prince Paul. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So I go to bed. So now I wake up. She's like, nah, what's good? Prince Paul called. He's trying to get at you. So I wake up and I'm like, oh, snap. So I give him a call and I'm all excited, you know? And he was like, yeah, I got your number from Stretch. I was like, Stretch don't work at Fat Beats. So I always mess with the clips about that. Like, yo, fam, Prince Paul thought you was Stretch Armstrong. You know what I mean? But at any rate, you know what I mean? I hit him up and he was like, yo, I got this idea with you in mind. And he was very frank. He was like, yo, I heard the tape. And he was like, I hear potential. And he was like, I just need you to, you know, basically be able to kind of give captions for certain moments in the play.
Yeah.
In the script. Because he had a script. I still have it. It's like this thing. And he's like, you know, I think you're up to it. So he ran over him and he was just like, we're gonna start recording. So we started recording first in his crib in LA, like his old family crib. And we got a lot done. And then eventually he we started getting studio time in Brooklyn and Greenpoint, and before you know it, joint was done. And,
wow.
You know, it's one of the biggest moments of my life.
Yeah.
Career-wise, you know.
So when I heard that album, I was a huge, you know, Prince Paul fan at that point because De La Soul is like favorite group of all time.
Right with you.
So I was so excited to get that album, and you know, knowing you from Juggaknots, it's like, oh, this is gonna be epic. And listening to it, it was like, wow, this is amazing. I've never heard anything like it. You know, up to that point, hadn't heard anything like it since. Did you have that experience with it? Like, did you know how it was going, how it was moving, or did you hear it all in one take at one point after he, you know, mixed it all together?
He didn't play me anybody else's songs, really.
Oh, wow.
It was just like, these are the songs I need you to focus on. So by the time I did hear it with like Welcome to Weapon World and Officer O'Malley, and you know what I mean? I'm like, yo, this shit is hard. So I remember when he had everybody come down and he played the joint straight through. It was at Jazzy J's studio in the city. Shout out to Jazzy J. And it blew everybody's mind. You know what I mean? And I was pretty much the main dude. And for me to hear the whole thing in its entirety, I was floored. It was so crazy to be a part of that. And then just to hear the whole thing, I was like part fan, and I felt like, damn, I feel like a star right now. but also very much a fan. You know?
Yeah, definitely. It's such a good album. I definitely want to talk about your new project, but before we go there, I'm gonna check in on Facebook, see if we have any questions there. Profound,
I got
IO.
one. Yeah, I got a question from Facebook, man. There's a sister that's a good friend of mine from North Carolina. She's an educator as well. Her name is Bert Albertia. She wants to know, do you make any educational tracks?
Not like vocabulary. Not in that way. And I respect, like I've used vocabulary. I guess the closest thing I'll ever get to that is if I just have the urge. I mean, to me, I hope somebody plays King Oxymoron. You know, oxymorons are an interesting, difficult concept.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody can play that and have the kids literally pick out the oxymorons, I think that would be dope. But I didn't do that in a way it was like, all right, y'all, here it is. We're gonna sit down and talk about oxymorons. Now I wanted it to still be a joint, you know what I mean? So nothing against that. I'm totally cool for that, but it would have to be very organic for me. I mean, I try to have, I don't know, you know, it's like when you're doing poetry, you don't say, okay, let me go and pick this poem that's about similes. No, you just pick a really good piece of poetry, and if it happens to have that, cool.
Yeah.
I think I want to lean more towards that. I still want my stuff to be able to stand alone as a piece of art. And if you can take something out of that and teach that as a teacher, cool. But I don't think I do it solely with the idea of being an educational tool. I'm just not there yet. I'm still really trying to just body shit.
Yo, and that's a good segue into the new album, because you did that for sure. And we had another question earlier this week from Dan. And when I want to get into this new album with this question here about, you know, how was your mindset different from this latest album, Hindsight, than it was with the first Juggaknots album?
Couple of things. One, with the Juggaknots projects, I always felt like I was kind of battling to show my worth within my crew and within my family, which is my crew. So it was like, let me make sure I step up and hold it down in that regard. But with that, it's like you want to like really fit into a slot that you think will make the most sense within that crew, within that group setting. So there's a lot of conversations and a lot of it's dope. I mean, I got the idea for Clear Blue Skies from my brother. That wasn't from my, like how to get that idea across, that was both of us. But just the idea of talking about it in this different way, even the actual title, that's from my brother. I came up with the, all right, let me be too white, you know, a white dude and his pops.
Yeah.
But that idea stemmed from a conversation we had. So with this particular project, although those are great things, I didn't want to have no conversations. I wanted to really look in the mirror and think about what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And I didn't want no help, no spots, no nothing. I just want to grab the bars and push them up. And I mean, it's interesting. I think about other cats. I think about like Black Thought and us being around the same age, and he's existed within this dynamic, this group dynamic. and obviously, you know, I've had freedom within the Juggaknots, but there is collaboration. To have like a focused goal, just thinking like, what do you really want to talk about? It was freeing. It was definitely freeing. It gave me the space to do a nerdy ass song like King Oxymoron. You know, and it, you know, it gave me the space to be reflective about my own experiences, good, bad, indifferent. And a lot of that stuff is I would say 80% of that album is semi-autobiographical. And I don't know, man. It was fun. It was just like, I'm gonna focus on my shit, my ideas. I ain't really going, you know, it's just gonna be me. I'm gonna go in. And it felt good.
Well, that question from Dan, you definitely won him over, because he also said in a comment, I think the album's incredible. Breeze is a legend for many reasons, but his ability to weave bars while telling a story puts him in a category of a select few. Hindsight is an instant classic. So you got a fan of Dan out there. So props to Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that, my brother.
Yeah, and it is an incredible album. And I feel like, to me, it's an album that was, when I first heard it, I was like, oh yeah, this is dope. And it also grew on me. And it continues to grow on me, because it dropped the same day as Pharoah Monch's album.
Yeah. Oof.
And I was like, oh man, this is gonna get overshadowed.
Why did I do that?
Yeah. But I feel like, you know, Pharoah Monch's album, like if you think of it as a race, like Pharoah was like out the gate quick, you know, just out the gate.
Oh man.
But then here comes Hindsight. Hindsight's just coming. It's coming.
Nah, ain't none of that,
dude,
man.
Every time I listen to Hindsight, I feel like it gets better with every listen.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about the Monch album.
Hey, that's an incredible album.
But you know that's the beauty of hip hop, though, right? Yep. Like, it takes so many forms. Like, good hip hop takes so many forms that it's just like, I don't even know if it makes sense for us to even categorize, and sometimes gets iffy, because it's like hip hop it's that shit, man. It was just us as the people saying, all this shit is us. This is all our shit, and just taking that shit and repurposing it and reshaping it to become this art form when nothing is off the table. You know, and to come out on the same day as, to me, pound for pound, probably the greatest dude to ever pick up a pen.
Yeah.
Short list, shortest of list. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And it's like, when you talk about an MC's MC, like, I mean, he's the epitome of that.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good day.
Mm.
It was a hard day for me because I couldn't decide which one I wanted to listen to. I've been waiting on Pharoah Monch's album, but I've been waiting on Breeze for a minute. I don't know. So that was a great day.
It's funny how it even worked out. Shout out to Eclipse. I think I wanted the day before, which was also a good day. Shout out to Hus Kingpin. He dropped the day before. With Porter's Hus.
Yeah, there was a few dope albums that day.
Yeah, that was a good little couple of days. And then, you know, just to come out on the same day as that brother, who I have maximum respect for. But I feel like you saying, like, I feel like our projects are very different. So here it is, you have two dudes who are known for their lyricism, but they're mad different.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's to me is a credit to hip hop.
Yeah, definitely.
And to lyrics, because there's so many ways to approach it. And that's kind of, you know, I've always wanted to approach things a little differently. Obviously that brother, you know, that's been, you know, if you can't see that with his work, you ain't really looking at it. But it was dope. It felt good to come out that day, just to be in to have something in common with that brother, and at the same time, I felt confident. Like it was just me.
Yeah.
You can't really go wrong when you're being yourself.
Right.
And I would say that like both of those albums were very much just us.
Yeah. 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 On Facebook, we have I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Al Babbles on Facebook chimed in with this question. You could have had almost anyone on your album. What was the reason behind making it with no features?
Shout out to Al Babbles too. Word up.
Yeah.
I know that's my dude.
You know Al. Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah. Good brother.
Yeah.
You know, I'm often like collabs are dope. I've done a lot of collabs in my life. But again, if I'm not rocking with my family, that's just not something that, you know, was a priority.
Yeah.
You know, I hadn't put out a solo album. And I felt like since when you consider all that, like I just want to give, you know, the listener uncut, unadulterated Breeze Brewin shit.
Yeah.
So that's really why I didn't have any collabs.
Al Babbles was also asking about any future collaborations coming out, if you have anything in store, and also mentioned that LP once said that you were his favorite MC. Is there any potential collaboration with LP down the line again?
I mean, I've made records with L before. I love it. I mean, he's dope. I mean, I've heard there's a Run the Jewels stuff that they body. I mean, that one of my favorite joints in the last couple of years was that 3 Tears off of Danny Brown. L's verse on it is insane. I mean, all of them body it, but that L verse particular, is dangerous. He just comes out blazing. And so yeah, I mean, like collabs, I'm gonna say this, collabs are dope. I'm a little behind the game in regards to my own catalog. So my focus is definitely adding to the catalog. I want to get a certain amount. And it's not like I haven't done music. You know, I've been on, you know, I don't know, 50 collabs easy off the top of the head.
Yep.
You look at those, that could have been another album, you know. But I'm happy because those collabs, it's like you're able to build, and that's even a further extension than the family, because somebody else is coming to you with a different idea, and it's like keeping you on your toes and pushing you in a different direction. But my priority is my catalog right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I've given a lot to, you know, education, and I feel like I'm about to be 47 years old, but I feel great. I feel like it's a good time. I feel like it's I've heard people talk about this being another golden era. I'm with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when I first got into hip hop, like it wasn't about being a millionaire or none of that. It was just like, I just want to hear my shit on, I'm gonna take y'all back a little further. I want to hear my shit on the Special K Teddy Awesome 2 show. Teddy Ted Awesome 2 joint. Like I remember wanting to be played on that. I never in my wildest mind thought I could ever hear myself on Kiss or BLS.
Right. So
in essence, I've always been kind of an underground type of MC because that was the shit I listened to. And there was just something in my mind that felt I wasn't going to get played on Friday and Saturday night. It just felt like too much. So when they actually played my song, it was like, wow, I've made it. And I feel like that's enough for me. But I just want to give so much more. You know, one of my favorite MCs of all time is Master Ace. I think his catalog is untouched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I want to push myself. I want to try to do something even remotely able to be mentioned in the same breath as some of his concept albums. His concept albums are sheer genius.
Yeah.
Ace, if you're listening, you are sheer genius. From Take a Look Around to,
man.
Sitting on Chrome to Disposable Arts.
Yeah.
Disposable Arts, when I was at Fat Beats, y'all would come in that straight through. I don't straight through to hold me. It would just rock it. You could just let it go.
Yeah.
And I it's like I'm trying to really, really get in the rhythm. I'm trying to get in the groove. And I'm trying to produce. I'm trying to,
nice.
like this is an art form to me. So it's like I'm trying to bet on me a little something.
So we can expect some more Breeze Brewin music in the near future?
Oh yeah.
Man.
It's like an EP ready to go. It's just
great.
next right now. My man Seb Bash, who to me is one of the bullies behind the boards in the industry. Cats know. I mean, if you heard the joint he did with Rome Streets and Estee Nat, Higher Self, he's got joints. I just talk about the joints that are out. I don't want to talk about nothing that ain't out and get in trouble later. But I heard some of the joints that ain't out. And we got probably like 5 joints.
Okay.
That I would love, that we can give the world, and I like them.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Well, I can't wait to hear them. And speaking of the joint you have out now, Liggy Long is tuning in. He said, "Shout out to
what?
Brother
That is my family. What's
yeah,
good, life?"
He
Liggy
said,
Long.
One of the illest, definitely a staple in this hip hop culture. Salute on this masterpiece. I think he was talking about the Hindsight album. So,
oh man, coming from that brother, man.
Liggy
Shout
Long.
out to Writers Guild, and just that's my brother for a long time. And like I said, man, thank God for this industry, man.
Yeah, man. And
I don't like when I think about what it gives like my soul.
Yeah.
To be able to have these type of conversations. I remember driving back to New York with Lifelong and just building, like, I still see it, the gems. It was me, Life, and Yesterday the Night Queen. He was driving back from a service for one of our fallen comrades. And that moment, that whole day was just like hip hop gave me that. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah, that's dope. All facts, said Liggy Long. All facts. So I want to conclude tonight with a few activities. One is a little thing that we like to do here called One Word. We're going to jump into that in just a moment. But IOMOS, Profound, anything on your heads you want to mention or ask before we?
Man, I just want to give the brother props, man, on being outside of being a dope MC, man, just a dope teacher, man. And your contribution to the game, brother, is incredible, man. And man, applause to you, brother.
Yes, man, thank you, Profound. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate just being here, and yeah, man, thank you.
Man, we need more of you, brother.
Yeah, man, for real. Like, I know Lifelong too, so shout out my brother, you know what I'm saying?
Word.
Lifelong. And I know, like, that's a good brother. So for you and him to be connected, I already know that dude got a heart of a lion. Gentle soul, man. He look out for people. One of the most loyal dudes I know. So respect to Lifelong. So if y'all two connected, I know y'all good money, man. So you know what I'm saying? As a person,
he's a beast.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And on the Zoom call with us, you can't see him on Facebook, but on the Zoom call, we've had Neville here listening in. He had a question for you, Breeze. So Neville, you want to chime in and ask your question?
Yes. Breeze Brewin, if there's like one album that you would want somebody who's not familiar with the catalog to get into, what would that album be that like represents you to the fullest, besides the new one?
If it's really truly representing me, it might be Use Your Confusion. It might be Use Your Confusion because Use Your Confusion was dope in the way that I was able to produce about almost half of it. Did a lot of it with my brother, but there's a lot of joints on there, and it definitely got me in a spot where I was a bit more seasoned. There's definitely a lot of communal stuff on there. I got dudes on there that are really important to me. I was able to do records with. Shout out to Jax Binkus, Subcon, who I haven't talked to in a minute. And you know, dudes I grew up idolizing, like my brother 9 So that record is not the first one that pops off to a lot of people, but I was able to rhyme with Slick Rick on that. And I produced the gang of that joint right there. So as well as more rhymes with my sister and my brother. So that one's I would say check that out, and then you could, you'd have a good idea who I am, at least closer to who I am now. As a grown man, not a crazy young boy from the first project.
Thanks.
Right on.
I had one more question, Breeze. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
No doubt.
Through the conversation here, you brought up New York, you brought up the different boroughs like Bronx, Brooklyn. We recorded. We kind of want to know, like, what area would you say you rep? What would be called home? Not like now, but you know what I mean, like originally, like what would you kind of, everybody kind of claims an area or a section or whatever. What would you kind of say is your habitat? Because you named a lot of boroughs. I'm like, where's he from? Okay, Uptown. There we go.
Yeah,
Uptown.
I'm in
Uptown, baby. Uptown, baby. For the crown, baby.
I mean, I've lived everywhere. Except Staten Island. I've lived in Harlem. I've lived in Queens. I went to school in Long Island. Obviously, I've lived in Brooklyn. I've born and raised in the Bronx. For me, it's the Bronx. I would even say the Northeast Bronx, where I don't live anymore. I live in the South Bronx now, but I grew up in the Northeast Bronx. And that to me is
hip-hop.
Yeah, but even the Northeast, they try to say it's not. But we had a chip on our shoulder from that. But to us, it really was.
Get on down kind of touches upon that. That Netflix thing that Nas had produced. It's a little bit. What was I don't have the name right. Is it Get On Down? That thing that Nas, Get Down. They were kind of hinting at that as well, and I've seen it in documentaries as well. So what you're talking about, the claims.
But there's a lot of the Northeast was very influential. DJ Breakout was from the Northeast. Funk Flex is from the Northeast. Whatchamacallit, who was his I can't think of his name right now. Damn, I'm slipping.
That's so good. And why Uptown in particular? Harlem. Why say Harlem?
I mean, we would go to Harlem, we would go to the South Bronx, but where I was based was the Northeast, and the Northeast was just like predominantly. I guess in the Bronx it's a little different because most of the Bronx, if you really think about it, it's more Latinx. But where I grew up, it was pretty much mostly Black. We had like Puerto Rican families and a couple of white families, but it was mostly Black, a lot of Caribbean Black. And it's just it was a different kind of pride, I would think. And everybody was welcome, but it definitely felt good as a young man to be in an area where it was just like, you were Black and it just felt damn good to be Black. And
that era of it too, the late 80s, 90s, that run of that era, of those areas there, Brooklyn. No joke.
Yeah.
No joke.
Yeah. Chuck Chill Out. Chuck Chill Out also.
There you go. Yes, Chuck Chill Out. That's right. He's still around.
Yeah. So that's where I claim. I'm from the Northeast all day. But I'm, the whole Bronx is great. Whole New York's great. I love living in Brooklyn. I love Harlem. But I'm just, that's just where I'm from.
Boogie down.
Yes.
So where exactly is 1520 Cedric? I've heard like some say it's the South Bronx, some say it's
really the West. It's the West
Okay.
Bronx. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, it's not. It's weird. There's no real South or Northwest Bronx. It's just the West because there's like Riverdale, which is technically the Bronx, but they have like palatial estates. So there's a part of Riverdale that it's called, you know, it's sectioned off for a reason. And then there's like from Kingsbridge down, even parts of Riverdale, they get it in. And then you get down to like Cedric Ave is like more the West, a little bit more in the middle, by Meshulah Parkway. I went to Lehman, so I know it pretty well over there. And it's the Bronx it's cool. I mean, the gentrification is real. I know a couple of friends who have gotten notices and they have to find new places to live and they're trying to fight it, which is, you know, you figure like New York in general is becoming very the affordability is. I'm glad I got my house when I did.
Wow. It sounds like Toronto, where I'm at. The housing market in Toronto is nuts.
Yeah. Word. Yeah. I don't know.
Average a mil. Houses are like average a mil. Like
average.
Yeah, that's the average.
Man,
that's some Brooklyn shit right there. Yeah. We ain't there yet.
Y'all need to come over to Cincinnati. You can buy about 10 houses for that.
But you gotta understand, it's a mil Canadian, but still, like just the thought of that, a mil. Come on, man.
I mean, it ain't a mil Jamaican. I mean, I've been to 190. Yeah, I've been to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's dope. Yeah. Cincinnati got its own thing. I got family from I believe they're from Lexington.
Oh, okay, right on.
So it ain't far from over there.
Nah, not at all. Well, before you have to get back to grading papers, wanted to just get your one word thought on a few albums. It's a little thing we like to do in the Boom Bap Chat. I'll show you an album. I'll say the title for those listening to the podcast, and you just give one word, the first word that comes to your mind. It's probably the hardest thing you'll do in your life. All right, here we go. First one. Since we talked about it, and you're the star of the show, A Prince Among Thieves by Prince Paul, featuring Breeze Brewin.
Fortunate.
Yeah, I feel that. All right, this is a little known album. I think it's one of the most underrated albums of all. And it's a joint by Mr. Lynn.
Ooh.
Remember this joint?
I'm going to say, what's a good one? Ill. It's an ill album. I'm glad to be on there.
Yeah.
On 2 joints. Shout out to Queen Heroin. I got on a joint on there with Jean Grey.
Yeah, that's a dope joint too.
That Pity the Fool album is ill.
Yeah, it is. All right. De La Soul is Dead by De La Soul.
Favorite.
Is this your favorite album of all time or from De La?
It's probably my favorite of all time. From Oodles and O's down. I mean, it's just, to me, it's probably my favorite album, hip hop. It's so hard. I remember when they're like, yo, you can't stream it. I didn't stream it. I've never streamed it. I had the vinyl. Somebody beat me for it. I had the CD. The joint got messed up, scratched, don't play in my 2004 Pathfinder. Nothing plays in my 2004 Pathfinder. So yeah, favorite. I would say you could even say Perfection, man. That album.
Yeah.
Everything.
Love that album. All right, so I know you listen to a lot of hip hop, a lot of newer artists. So I'm curious to know if you've heard this one. This is produced by Quelle Chris. Don't Feed the Monster by Homeboy
I talked
Sam
about that album in another podcast. Yeah, I feel that album's amazing.
Amazing.
Amazing. I was actually talking about that album with Sam Man not too long ago. Shout out to Sam. And Quelle Chris, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about future joints, but I was lucky enough to rhyme over a Quelle Chris beat that's coming out very soon. with somebody else who's very dope. And get that out, fam.
All right,
Come on.
We're gonna keep it in the family. This is also Quelle Chris with Sean Gray, Jean Gray. Sorry, messing up these names.
That joint is hilarious. Is not doing it justice, but it's so. I mean, it's extremely engaging and just. I mean, they're just dope and funny, and at the same time, and I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
All right, two more. This one doesn't get much love, but I heard you also talk about this album on another podcast, so I'm curious to know what you think about this. This is the Alcoholics.
Oh my God, I played that today, top to bottom. I played that today.
Oh, dope.
I forgot my daughter's lunch. It was a rough morning, and it was so I had to get her lunch in time and then get back in time to start my class. So I get in fresh for you. RESH. I'm out. I played that album today on my mama.
Oh, that's dope. All right, last one, since we kind of started the show, and I want to invite the whole group back to have a conversation. This is the re-release album by Juggaknots.
Love, right there.
Love.
Yeah, that was the genesis for me.
Right on.
And my crew.
Earlier tonight, I did email Slim, asked if, the entire crew would come on, the brothers and the sister would come on later on and come back and do a Juggaknots Boom Bap Chat. So would love
I'll be with that. I hope we got a couple more Juggernaut joints in us too. I would love to get catalog. Shout out to everybody that I'm about to do some collabos with and that I'm talking with about collabos and everybody reaching out. But if I don't want to work, it ain't because there ain't no love. It's catalog, fam.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to build that up.
Right on, man. Well, we can't wait to hear more music, and we will definitely invite the whole crew back on.
It's coming. I would love to hear what y'all think about
this
project with me and my dude, Sebash, who's a monster.
Can't wait to hear it. The last thing we do in the Boom Bap Chat, of course, it's a hip hop show, so we give our shout outs. We'll give you the last shout outs, Brewin, so you can say whatever you want to say at the very end. But IOMOS, any shout outs for you tonight?
Man, just shout out to, hip hop, the collaboration between hip hop and education. You know what I mean? Everybody that we named tonight that's like amazing hip hop artists as well as educators. You know what I mean? And Breeze Brewin is definitely that. So I definitely look up to you in that aspect as an MC and as an educator. And like I said, all my favorite artists are educators. So add you to that list. You know what I'm saying? So
thank you, my brother.
And I'm glad I'm glad I was able to meet you, you know what I mean? So virtually. So enough respect.
I gotta get up to Toronto, man. I gotta get up there. We're gonna
no doubt.
Reach out to you when that happens. So
for sure,
I ain't been there yet, but thank you.
Oh, word?
Not yet. Nope.
All right, hey man. You can come stay at the crib, bro. We got plenty of room, man.
I will do that. I will take you up on that.
All right, Profound. Any shout outs for you tonight?
Man, shout out to Master Ace, man. We was bopping the other day, man. We working on getting him on the show. Shout out to Ace. Shout out to the kids. They should be sleeping, man. But we're gonna holler out anyway. Shout out to the Boom Bap Chat and Breeze, definitely, man. And you know what, man? Shout out to all the DMCs and everybody that support hip hop. But really, shout out to the MCs that read. You know what I mean? I remember always usually being described that way. He's like, "Oh man, you rap like you read." Like, well,
thank you.
Right, yeah.
Reading is dope.
Right.
No doubt. Neville, you still there with us? You have any shout outs before we go?
Yeah, shout out to my dukes, man. Love ya. Shout out to the family. Blood and not blood. And words, sound, and power. Those are the three words, man. Words, sound, and power. They can heal, man. They can hurt. They can definitely heal and enlighten and inspire. And you heard that tonight. Teaching the next generation and sustaining the current generation. And those come to come. So that's all I want to say. Blessed love, everybody.
Right on, man. Right on.
Word up.
And yeah, shout out to Juggaknots, Breeze Brewin. It's been an honor to have you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate it. Shout out to Soul Rack, who's going to be our guest next Thursday night. Soul Rack out of Florida. He's done some incredible things in his career. So we're going to talk all about that. And he has a new project out. So we'll discuss that. Shout out to MJ for making that one happen. And shout out to everyone, listening tonight and just, promoting and advancing the hip hop that we all love and hold dear to our hearts, man. We really appreciate that you're out there, you're talking about it, you're spreading the good stuff. You're not just complaining about what they play on the radio or blah, 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 but we know the good stuff is out there. We know albums like Hindsight are out there and we're listening, we're showing love, and we're, spreading the love. And so shout out to all you that are, joining those conversations and helping advance the music forward. So appreciate you, Breeze Brewin. We'll give you the last shout out, say whatever you want, and then we'll be out of here.
I mean, I want to thank y'all. I want to shout out y'all, man. This is dope. Just talking about the craft and, just classic albums, having me get stuck trying to figure out one word to describe some of them joints. This music means a lot, and you know what I mean. I'm just honored that I can contribute to it. So shout out to all the artists and all the listeners, man. We all important. We working together on this.
Right on. Cool. Thanks, Breeze.
All right, y'all.
And on that note, we say peace.
Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, Breeze.
Peace.